He lies. He never tells the truth. He changes his narrative in order to fit the agenda that he's trying to accomplish. And trust me, it's not fighting crime. This is not what this guy's about. It's a completely different world that he's talking about here. But he's trying to present it as being this crime fighter. My name is Kurt Mullet. I'm Hoosier Blue, and I have something to say. Let's get at it. So before I dive into this too far, I just want to share a small clip with you.
Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. And we have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there.
So the one thing that we all know who are on the left, those on the right don't know this, but those of us on the left know this. Anytime this guy opens his mouth, he's lying. He's deceitful. He never tells the truth. He is always deflecting and projecting an image that is nothing like who he is. Because we all know who he is. He's proven time and time and time again. He's standing up there talking about fighting crime across our country and in D.C. And he's pinpointing many cities across our country. Every single one of these cities that he has mentioned has a mayor who is black. Coincidence? I think not. That's who the guy is. Because it's not about crime. And you know, I just find it hilarious that a dude who's been convicted of 34 felony charges, who has been found guilty of raping E. Jean Carroll and numerous other offenses throughout his life, is standing up there talking about fighting crime. That is not what this is about. This is simply about his racism and his hatred towards anyone who is not rich or white, because that's who the guy is. You do not solve crime in major metropolitan cities or anywhere by increasing the amount of military, not alone police force. That has been proven over and over again to be ineffective. It causes so much more damage than any good that they try to achieve by doing this. This is a fascist way of approaching crime. This is a racist way of approaching crime and fighting crime. And see, the truth be known, what this administration has done and what this guy has done is actually what's creating the problems with some of the crime in our country. Now, let's not mention the fact that in Washington, D.C., crime is at a 30-year low. So he's talking about the crime that's in D.C. when it's actually at one of the lowest points it's been for a long time. The worst crime that has been committed in D.C. in the last, let's say 5 years was January 6, 2021. Did he bother calling the D.C. National Guard to help with those criminals? Well, hell no. In fact, after they were tried and found guilty of treason and seditious conspiracy, he came into office and pardoned all of them. So he released the criminals into our country once more. And many of them have committed crimes again because they're habitual criminals, just like this dude is. So what this administration has actually done is they have eliminated over $800 billion in public safety grants and funding for violence prevention programs. In April, the action by the DOJ, under the felon's direction, rescinded grants dedicated to local gun violence prevention and crime reduction efforts in cities across America. It canceled 373 grants, impacting over 550 organizations in 48 states. One example of this is the reduction in staffing and services provided in Baltimore's ROCA program. It's a nonprofit organization that is geared to helping young men in their late teens and early 20s to disrupt violence and heal trauma through cognitive behavioral skills, aiming to help them change the path by fostering hope and change in their community. So, the violence that he's talking about in Baltimore, he is actually perpetuating by removing this program, by removing funding, and by removing grants. So then he goes on and attacks Mayor Brandon Johnson and the city of Chicago and J.B. Pritzker. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Chicago is investing in mental health and behavioral health. Mayor Brandon Johnson is reopening mental health facilities and providing treatment to the citizens of Chicago. See, when someone in Chicago has a mental health crisis, Chicago sends out a mental health specialist, not someone from the military, not a police officer. They send out someone who is trained in the field of mental crisis to help that individual out. In April of 2025, Chicago recorded the fewest number of homicides within a month of April since 1962. To me, that doesn't sound like Brandon Johnson is incompetent. Does it to you? Also, in Chicago, they have experienced a 30% reduction in homicides under Mayor Brandon Johnson. Also, gun violence has been reduced by 40% under Mayor Brandon Johnson. And robberies have been reduced by almost 35% under Mayor Brandon Johnson. So again, I ask, does this sound like an incompetent mayor to you? I think Mayor Brandon Johnson is doing one hell of a job. And what you are actually witnessing here with what the felon is saying is absolute jealousy. He cannot stand the fact that a black man is in charge in Chicago and doing one hell of a job in curtailing crime within his city. People respect him and are listening to him, and he's implementing programs that are working. Now, I'm going to say this to you, Felon 47. Why don't you take your ass to Chicago sometime and have a face to face with Mayor Brandon Johnson? I'm sure he would welcome you with open arms. And I'm sure J.B. Pritzker would do the same. They would love for you to come to Illinois and have a face to face with them. And I'll tell you this much. After Brandon Johnson gets done with his little talk with you, if you have any skin left on your ass after he takes you to the woodshed, J.B. Pritzker, I'm sure, will sit down and finish the job. Because you, my friend, are absolutely out of your league when it comes to these two individuals. They are head and shoulders above you. And not only decency, but in diplomacy and knowing how to govern properly. You have no decency to you at all. You do not know how to govern whatsoever. And you're a failure to the nth degree. That's who you are. We also know that this is all about racism. It always has been with you. Ever since your early beginnings when your father brought you into the business world. And then I believe in 1973, you and your father were sued because of discrimination in your housing projects. 1973. That's quite a long time ago, right? You've been doing this ever since. And then we cannot forget your full page ad of the Central Park Five asking for the death penalty of five innocent black men who later on, through DNA, were exonerated and found not to be guilty of any of the crimes that they were incarcerated for. And even after that, what did you say? I believe your comment was, quote unquote, well, I'm sure they had to have done something wrong. You know, dude, this is who you are. You're a racist. You're a white supremacist, and you have found your 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 calling card with the evangelicals in this country because you gave them the path that they've been seeking for a long time to do away with Roe v. Wade, because that's what this is all about. That's why the evangelicals love you, because you manipulated our Supreme Court and our court systems, and you installed white supremacists as your judges, white Christian nationalists as your judges, who did away with Roe v. Wade. And that's what this is all about. It's about racism and the anti abortion groups in this country. And you are slowly destroying our nation. But you know what? You're starting to bite off a little bit more than you can chew. And your administration that you surrounded yourself with, all these sycophants, they may bend the knee and do exactly what you asked them to do. But here's the thing about them, they're incompetent. They have no clue as to what the hell they are doing. And sooner or later, they're going to screw up big time. I mean, they already have plenty. We could go down the list. They have been caught in so many lies. It's hilarious. And just a short amount of time. This is just absolutely crazy. And most of us can see it. Your little MAGA world, your little, I think it's like 22% of people or whatever, they'll always be on your side because that's who they are, because they just absolutely adore you and love you, because they have nothing in their life that has any meaning but you. But the rest of us, we see right through you. And the resistance is building. And people are realizing exactly what you are doing, what those of Project 2025 are doing, which you've installed many of them into your administration. We're witnessing what is going on. Your illegal kidnappings and deportations, your treatment of black and brown people in this country, your policies against the LGBTQ, and what the Supreme Court is doing now, it's all going to come to a screeching halt. And we're going to continue to press on and fight you, because we will not accept this in our country. We will not comply, because our democracy means a hell of a lot more to the majority of us than what you do. Because, you're just, well, I mean, I really hate cussing because I want to get my message across without doing that. But you're just a piece of shit. Is who you are. You are the most vile, uh, just disgusting human being I've ever laid my eyes on or ever heard speak. It, I don't know how else to describe you, but that's who you are. Martial law is not acceptable in our country. We are not a third world nation. We are the greatest country on earth. And crime can be dealt with in so many different ways, in much more humane ways than what you're trying to do. But this is part of your plan, because it's all about racism and control and white supremacy with you. You want to rid our country of brown and black people. Point blank. That's what you want to do. And we're not going to let you do it. We will fight you every step of the way. We will not comply. And we will continue to let our voices be heard and step up, because what you are doing to our country is absolutely appalling. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your support. Please tell your friends and family and coworkers about me. Give me a like, hit the subscribe button because I truly do appreciate it. My name is Kurt Mullet. I'm Hoosier Blue, and I have something to say. Catch you on the flip side.